All right, welcome into a Wednesday installment of Freshly Pressed here on the Smooth Breakfast. This is Smooth 98.1. We love music, we love life, we love to take a look at the major stories, get analysis and your contributions as well. That is what we do each and every single morning at 7:30. This is where you need to be tuned into. My name is Ayokunmi, and it is a beautiful Wednesday. It doesn't look like there's rain at the moment, thankfully. Things could change because the rains yesterday, they did a number. I hope you were able to find your way without any incident whatsoever. We're thankful for life and everything in between. All right, joining me this morning to take a look at the stories, the major headlines, two main men to give the analysis and take a deeper dive with me into the issues in the persons of Lakunle Yusuf and, of course, Devoe Okorie. Good morning to you, Lakunle. Great to have you once again.
Hey, Ayo, good morning. How are you doing? Good to be back. And I hope that all of us have recovered from the disappointment of last night. Of course, it's so obvious now we're not going to USC 2026, but there's still AFCON in January to win.
Oh, my goodness. The less said about Super Eagles, the better. Devoe, good morning to you.
Morning world, morning Lagos, AY, Lakunle, cool, GDP, too bad.
I always look forward to those Devoe's should I say greetings as it were. One of the things that makes my Wednesdays. Anyways, you can join us on the show as always on WhatsApp 0911 That is the WhatsApp number. Send your messages in there. You can also send your messages on the live stream on YouTube. Yes, Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Leave those comments in the chat box right there, and I'll get right to them alongside the WhatsApp messages. All right, Devo, let us begin talking about money, debt, etc. Stepping into the Guardian. Now, it says, as the All Progressives Congress, the APC, pushes back on debt sustainability concerns, the Debt Management Office, the DMO, the Labour Party, and other stakeholders have demanded a more transparent borrowing and documentation culture. Whereas data in the public space peg the public debt stock as at the end of the first quarter at 149.39 trillion naira, the DMO, which oversees the management of the public debts, casts doubt on the transparency of the accumulation. Back and forth over these issues here. Is it not? Devo, walk us through this one.
Right. The truth is, most times we get caught up in numbers regarding our GDP, regarding our debts, when we discuss the economics of the matter. But the real meat is what is not brought forward. And that is what needs to be said. So this back and forth that has been going on with the GDP and debt is coming from the fact that there was a recent, let's call it verbal clash or misinterpretation of what the Speaker of the House said at an audits forum, okay, which the opposition picked up on, that yes, the Speaker is actually calling out the presidency on its rising debt profile. Now, whilst the politics of that is going back and forth, and that is of no gain to anybody, the institutions that should actually put a position on what the issue is the Debt Management Office and also the Auditor General, the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation. So the
Right.
DMO said we're at 149, which is roughly 150 trillion naira. Okay. The Auditor General said, we will go and scrutinize it to confirm that this is correct. I mean, they should have been doing that job already. It's nothing new. Now, the point here is that at that forum, the DMO was saying that our debt profile can be affected by external shocks, either commodity prices or as given the fact that we have a high external debt in dollars. Okay. So if the dollar gets stronger, it's obviously going to affect us. Just the same way you see, and when the dollar gets stronger, what it means that things get more expensive given the state of our naira. Now, going forward, they now stressed where they were asking both the federal government and state governments to stop borrowing externally. Okay. And because this was putting Nigeria in positions that we may not, if there are issues, if there's a hit on the naira, it will mean more naira to be paid
Mm.
now, which creates a greater debt burden for the future and weakens our local capacity. Now, having said that, I think yes, they now said government should be looking at PPP, that's public-private partnerships, to see how they can raise money to address the situation. Now, just to clarify the real problem here, it's not even because they were confused about how much money they were borrowing. The real wahala here, right? And you've seen different social people respond. Dino Melaye, Rena Omokri, etc., claiming that debt was brought down. One of the major reasons why our debt stock is a problem for the country, because as of this time, at 150 million, it takes our
Brilliant.
GDP, it takes our debt to GDP ratio to about 50%, which is above the 40% that is set by the law. Okay. Also, out of the 9 trillion naira the government spent recently, about 61% was spent on debt servicing. Now, debt servicing just simply means, let's say your salary is 100,000 naira. You pay you pay back debt, BC, to the tune of 60,000. How much do you have left? How much do you have left to do the needful, like your paying of salaries? How much? What do you even have left to do infrastructure? So this is where it crunches Nigerians, and that this is the direct reason why, obviously, the Minister of Foreign Affairs has not been funded for ambassadors, etc. And co. As you can see, they're going through a crunch. Now, the point here is that the opposition has also picked up on it and said, hey, look, we have to be careful whether the speaker's position was misinterpreted or not. It's not the Senate president's duty to try and cover up the presidency. Their job as the National Assembly, and this is beginning of the lesson number one, the National Assembly work is to be that outlier, that's check, that's surveillance on national expenditure. You are the ones sent to represent and protect the national commonwealth. That's not happening. Secondly, I must say, for those who believe that, like South Africa and other countries who have higher debts to GDP ratios, okay? And this is where the lesson lies. All these countries, if you go there, you will see where their money was spent. Take a trip to South Africa. You will see the infrastructure. South African infrastructure is equal to American and UK infrastructure combined. Do you understand that? If you go to Ghana, you will see where they've been building. Back in the day when Nigeria's currency had strength, you could see the roads that were built in the days of Shagari and even the early military days. You could go to our universities and see the old structures that were built.
All
So
right, Devoe.
these are the
Bring it
things
home.
that make, yes, these are the things that make a country work. But these days, we just hear billions being appropriated. And at the end of the day, it's pocketed. Nothing is actually built. And then we wonder why our currency is weak and why the economy is not growing.
Thank you for sharing those thoughts there, Devoe, and bringing some clarity to this. I know we've said it so many times that it's not as much as the borrowing, but what exactly are the after effects of the borrowing? Where's the money
What
going
is
to?
done with it?
What is
Yes.
done with it, and so on
We
and
should be
so
able to
forth.
see it.
Exactly, exactly. We're not seeing nearly enough of that, and that is the very unfortunate thing in this instance. I beg your pardon. All right, Lakunle, let's walk into the Daily Trust here. Um, so many things we need to talk about this morning, and I think it was on this very day, was it last week, that we talked about the issue of the train derailment. Well, the House of Representatives Committee on Land Transport has given the Minister of Transportation Saidu Ahmed Al-Khali 48 hours to appear before it over the recent derailment of a Kaduna-bound train carrying 618 passengers. The committee issued the ultimatum on Tuesday after the minister failed to attend its investigative hearing on the incident, a move that lawmakers described as an affront to the Nigerian people. Like I said, we are talking about this last week or thereabouts, this particular issue. We talked about investigations and all that. Now, the House of Reps committee have said the minister failed to attend its investigative hearing and have given him an ultimatum. Not the first time they would summon a member of the government to come and explain something for whatever reason. They don't show up. These are the issues.
Let me start with a prayer. May we, all of us, including you and I and all the listeners to us this morning, may we never be an unfortunate statistics in this our country, Nigeria.
Amen to that.
Why did I pray? In the text of these reports, the rep member who spoke was said to have given 48 hours ultimatum. This event happened 2 weeks ago. And down in the report, it says that this is a national emergency. How is it a national emergency after 2 weeks? Then you are now giving 48 hours ultimatum now for the chairman to appear. Remember at that time also, the accident investigating board had said that the reports will be ready by 26th September.
Right.
So what are they going to sit in the House of Rep to talk about again? The appropriation that the House of Rep should do for the railway system to function, to continue to upgrade its services, to continue to provide better services, to increase his mileages across the country. Have they done it? Have they given them the money to do those things? Are they sanctioning? Are they ensuring that the people, the leadership of the railway corporation, they are living by the tenets and the guidelines and the policies and laws that set up the corporation? If they are not doing that, it's a shame that we are now sitting down 14 days after, and then plus 2 days, we are now giving an ultimatum to something. They says that we're on recess, that they broke their recess. Did it take them 2 weeks to come from Lagos or wherever he said they were coming from before they came to come and be given 2 weeks ultimatum now? It's appalling that the human life, the Nigerian life, is not so much valuable to us, the people ourselves, not to now talk of the leadership that we have. We're saying, okay, because 680 people didn't die, is it not enough that the thing, the carriages derailed and were turned over? I mean, so that is the perspective that me have looked at this report, that they are crying too late, and okay, then to close it, they have cried too late. Now, can they do the needful? What does the railway corporation need to ensure that these things don't happen again? Can they do it quickly enough so that we can prevent the next one? Thank you.
Thank you, Lakunle. But before I actually drop this, you raised a very important point about whether or not the needful that should be done to ensure that these things don't happen again, and of course the railway service is better improved. Wouldn't that be part of? I'm going to assume would be on the agenda if the Ministry of Transportation actually showed up upon the summons, don't you think?
Railway system is not a new technology, Ayo. We've known railways existed since 1700s, over 3 centuries. What is there can be incremental improvements. We're not creating the technology again. It's all over the world. When we were in primary school, they used to tell us in what subject was it? I think it was in civics or whatever. I can't remember. They tell you that
social studies,
the railway
perhaps,
system is the safest means of land transportation. That the possibility of an accident in railway is so remote. That was more than 40 years ago that I'm talking about. So why is it now that in Nigeria in 2025, accidents of our railway system, it has become what's it called? 5 a penny, 6 a penny. There is nothing that, okay, so at the beginning of this year, did railway not give a budget? What was in their budget that was approved? Have they approved that budget according to how they have said it? So if you have approved it according to how they have asked you, we want to do this, we want to do this to prevent this, to prevent that, we want to do this, we want to monitor, we want to do that, have you given them the money? Now you have a case to argue. The money we gave you, what have you spent it on? What have you done with it? the fact that the accident happened truly is a national emergency. 618 Nigerian lives is a lot. But what am I even saying? 2,000 people were killed in some other places for other incidences. Nothing happened now. There was no, we didn't, the war didn't end in Nigeria, now did it? So what is 618 that did not even that? It's just an accident. That's the way it appears to me that we are treating these things about the Nigerian life. And so when you ask a Nigerian to sacrifice for Nigeria and he's seeing this kind of things, how easily would it be for a Nigerian to say, me, Olorun Maji, I can't do that for Nigeria? But because we are not seeing that we are investing in the Nigerian itself in terms of quality of life.
These are the issues. All right, Lakunle, thank you so much for that one. Devoe, I'm coming back to you now. We're still staying in the Daily Trust, or we're stepping back into the Daily Trust, where this is, excuse me, the chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, that's Taiwo Oyedele, says President Bola Tinubu's administration is not responsible for introducing the controversial 5% surcharge on fuel. Now, he explained that the surcharge was first enacted in 2007, but was never implemented because the government at the time was paying fuel subsidies. Now, he says, and I quote, one very important message for the people to know is that this surcharge was not introduced by this government. It was introduced in 2007. Now, the clarification comes amid widespread criticism and speculation that the surcharge would take effect from January. Well, Devoe, it requires a 5% payment on every liter of fuel purchased, and it has sparked a lot of concern among citizens about tax, and more tax. Now, government have come out to say it's not a new thing. It's been there since 2007, but just was not implemented at the time. But it looks like it is on the cards, even though they haven't said exactly when it will, but we don't know when yet.
This is the point where you play Fela's Zombie. Because they don't come again. Now, the truth is, if you've lived in Nigeria long enough, you will know when government begins to speak from different sides of their mouth. And this whole, once again, they're trying to explain. They're going to explain tire, right? As we hear in local parlance. When they removed the subsidy, the whole idea was the West had pressurized the government to remove petroleum subsidies that were killing our debt position, right? And they removed it, OT law. Yes, and now we're paying 3 times the price on fuel. So it comes as a shock to hear being explained by the tax reform chairman, Taiwo Oyedele, that the 5% surcharge on fuel was always there. Yes, it was put in place by Yar'Adua back in 2007, okay? But he never implemented it because subsidies were in place. However, the point is, even if 100 other countries are doing the same thing, the point is, make it make sense. You take off subsidy, you harmonize the FX markets, okay? Which people have debated, and even me, I commend the government for that step because they didn't have an option. Nigeria was going to tank. Now, like I've always said, they were meant to follow it up with other actions that were meant to cushion the effect of this spike, okay? Right. Which has led to the high cost of living and inflation that we all see. So to come and tell us, the 5%, we is still there for Kobodo. No. Please do not play with the senses of Nigerians like that. If you've remember, many people said that, the subsidy should not have been removed alongside the FX harmonization, okay? Some have even said that, you shouldn't have yanked it up in one fell swoop, that you should have done it gradually. It was actually Obasanjo who introduced MYTO, which was a multi-year tariff order, which was meant not only for the electricity industry to bring the tariff to a market cost reflective, also for the petroleum sector, which was why they introduced these taxes. And the meat of this matter, okay, is each time they add this tax, the consumption tax, whichever tax, we've had many with different governments, they'll tell you, we're not spending it. It's meant to go to infrastructure to projects. If you remember Gabriel Onosade, they even many right-standing Nigerians were used to paint a picture that government was going to actually use this extra money to address issues. AY, we're still here like zombies. Billions are being spent, and like I told you in the last story, we cannot see where those projects that are being built. I know many people challenged me then that, are you sure if they remove subsidy, government will use the money to address issues? Well, in fairness to Tinubu, he split the money. The federal government took their portion, and he gave states 50%. So it means governors, all 37 of them, have explanations to be doing, and it is our duty as citizens to hold them accountable. I've told you before, how do you hold government accountable? Block the road. Let them explain to you what they have done with all this money. It's not to be telling us billion this, billion that, and at the end of the day, na couple day our pockets. At least let us enjoy the tax that we pay. No be so.
I hear you on that one, Devoe. I hear you on that one. I mean, if you're paying all these monies, paying all these taxes, you need to see the benefits. We need to see the benefits.
Ayo, one moment. Literally, please don't block the road, but
block
ask
the road,
questions.
my friend. Hold government
don't block
accountable.
the road.
Block the road.
Don't speak in a language that people will misinterpret.
I said block the road because they've not been hearing you. They're not responding to you. A town hall is different. They're not doing it. Block the road.
Victor on WhatsApp says, we can't operate a locomotive train effectively. Is it a bullet train moving at 500 kilometers per hour we want to operate? Well, I mean, we'll get there eventually. We'll get there eventually, Victor. It's baby steps, one step after the other. Let's improve on this, and we'll get there at some point.
The trains are not locomotive, they are diesel-powered engines.
This is Fabian Inepe, who says, the head of the Railway Corporation ought to have been suspended following the accident. The buck stops at his table. We constantly wait for disasters and accidents to happen and then pass the blame instead of focusing on the root cause and taking a proactive approach. Why can't the government compare themselves to developed countries when it comes to improving the livelihood of its citizens? All right, Lakunle, let us continue on this journey here. Now, let's talk health matters. Vanguard is what we're going to. The Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors will today, hold its National Executive Council meeting to determine its next line of action on a pending ultimatum to the federal government. The association had earlier issued a 10-day ultimatum to relevant government agencies, warning that members would embark on a nationwide strike if their demands were not met. The threat comes amid mounting pressure on Nigeria's very fragile public health system, which is already grappling with a shortage of doctors, poor infrastructure, and the overcrowded hospitals as well. Lakunle, don't you think that this would be a good opportunity for the government at least to show that they are serious about healthcare in Nigeria and listen to the doctors and try to find some common ground? Because a nationwide strike is not doing anybody any good.
Absolutely, it's not going to do anybody any good. It's not doing the doctors themselves any good because so let's assume if I have a loved one in the hospital who needs medical attention and the doctors goes on strike and the person passes on, I would never understand why they would not have helped to prevent that loved one from dying because they went on strike. That's from the perspective of me, who's not a loved one. From the perspective of the family of a doctor, I would never understand why my loved one who's a doctor still has to come to me for bailouts every month after, for example, I had paid 7 million naira a year for 6 years if he went to a private university to study medicine. I would never also understand that. So from whichever perspective we look at this matter, right, everybody would have a valid argument for taking the position that they are taking. Government will say to you, we don't have enough money to go around for everything. We need to prioritize. Just as Devoe said, We only hear of all these monies being spent. Do we see the commensurate result for the volumes of money we hear being spent? I don't think so. We cannot say government isn't doing anything. Are we prioritizing right? I am not sure we are. I cannot even say we are or we are not. Because when you look at it, so for example, you look at when you are trying to solve one problem, another problem props up. Do you leave the one you are solving to go and do the other one? So it's a mishmash of this and that. And for me, I've never been a believer in strikes. I've never believed strike solves any problem because at the end of the day, the table that both of you refused to sit before you went on strike, you will still come back there and you will still speak, right? But the damage would have been done at the time you went on strike, right? So at this point, obviously the ball is in government's court. If you saw from this report, the number of things listed that are outstanding based on previous agreements is more on government side than on the doctor's side. We need our government at all levels, particularly our state governors. Our state governors, a state governor once was supposedly had a traffic light junction accident and flew to London to go and check whether his spine was broken or something in the same country. That doctor does not trust the hospital he claimed he'd been spending money on in Nigeria, in his state in Nigeria. We need to focus more on our state governors. See, if you want to eat money, like they say in local parlance, spending the money on social infrastructure is a very good way to eat the money, and people will still see what you have done. It's bad that you carry all the money home and don't do anything at all with it. That's what we don't want to see here. We don't want to see. We would need, okay, so federal government, for example, has a maximum of, let's say, they have 117 universities, federal government. So maximum tertiary hospitals, they can have 117 plus 37 if all the states have a federal medical center each. That is insignificant compared to the general hospitals that each state has. Ogun State has at least, that I know, one general hospital in every local government. That's 14. Oyo State has like that. That's 33. So by the time you add up all the general hospitals in every state, the primary health centers, the state governments, what are we doing with all of those things? So if we have all those infrastructure in place, then what are we doing to upscale our training of more medical doctors? Because one of the things here is that our medical doctors don't even have opportunities to train to become resident doctors. There's residency allowance that is outstanding. There is salary arrears that is outstanding. How can a doctor be patient to listen to a patient if he's hungry, if he's not feeding, if he's owing his children's school fees, if his landlord is knocking on his door for rent? He can never be patient. He can never have the presence of mind to do the simple things. But at the end of the day, it is us, the people, that suffer. We need to appeal to our government to take social services serious and let us avoid the avoidable deaths that this strike may bring along with it.
I mean, as Lakunle, we need to appeal to the government. We've been appealing for quite some time, and for whatever reason, they haven't listened, or they are not listening, or not listening enough, as far as I'm concerned. Let me take your messages on WhatsApp. Let me run through. This is from Ian. Ian says, Nigeria is just like a movie series with multiple episodes. If Nigeria were a series, the scriptwriter would be a very good one. I believe that. Drama unending, week on week, month on month, year on year. Now, wow, for a while, I even stopped listening to anything on radio that is not music. Today, when I come back, I hear freshly pressed drama again. Ian, welcome to Nigeria. That's all I can say to you. Really. This is from, this is Wendy, if I'm correct. Wendy says, thank you, Lakunle. And you're saying we should not block the roads. We need to be real, really. Fabian says, strike strike is the last resort after other options at negotiation have failed. As a doctor, I know how painful it is to decide to go on strike. I disagree with your analyst as those who go on strike never refuse to discuss or negotiate. The government needs to take a proactive approach. If they truly cared for their citizens, they would learn from developed countries and those doing it right and do the needful. Excuse me. Tony Marimbit says, talking about 5% tax for road maintenance, Nigerians are already, it's for road maintenance, it's fuel surcharge. Nigerians are already paying multiple to agberos, other transport unions, and so on. There should be a well-structured and harmonized tax system and ensure the revenue is well spent to keep our roads in safe conditions instead of turning some individuals into millionaires in the name of belonging to some kind of unions and then putting extra burden on the suffering masses. Isn't that why they're harmonizing all the taxes at the end of the day? Stan says, NSAS was effective, that the government had to succumb to the people's cry because of one thing, the road was blocked. Sorry, I have to agree with Devoe. Blocking the road is the only language they understand. Reasons why protests are not effective is because they were held at market squares, parks, and fields. If it were on the roads, trust me, they will be effective. Lekon in Lagos says, in the same country, removal of subsidiary, borrowing money, or taxing people is used for development. But here, the government borrows to live the luxury lifestyles, to waste and spend unnecessarily on traveling. Now they want to not increase fuel, it's a fuel surcharge by 5%. Now imagine 712 billion naira for renovations of existing airports, 21 billion for the VP's lounge, and so on and so forth. Very long message, Lekon, but thank you all the same. Joseph Meunier says, let's pray the insecurity and impunity by this administration does not degenerate to the kind of demonstration that happened in the country of Nepal, because the government is really pushing the citizens. So after subsidy removal, naira flotation, high power tariffs, and so on, they're discussing surcharges of 5% on PMS. After celebrating that the economy is booming, debt-free, and so on. And Victor says, and he says, Lakunle, it seems like you like docile citizens that won't challenge the government to get or make things better. Most developed countries that most of us fancy today and want to go on vacation or tourism challenge their government at a point in time to demand good governance. Some even fought wars before they began to enjoy the peace they enjoy today. What I will say on this is that when Devoe said block the roads, Lakunle added the addendum that some people could take it to mean something else entirely, and Devoe clarified that it is just block the roads only. That's it, basically. Not that don't do anything.
Can I quickly respond?
Yeah, Lakunle.
So when I say don't block the road, don't forget, when you say you are protesting and you block the road, somebody that you think you are protesting for would also need to use that same road for a life-saving event or for a means of livelihood or something. We cannot be entirely selfish in our demand for anything. That is why we need to, the civil organizations, we need to form what we call the lobby groups, sincere lobby groups, and be there where these laws are being made. So that it's not until when the law has been made then that we're now reacting. Lobby groups do a lot. The National Rifle Association in America today is very strong. That's why they've not been able to cancel the gun law in that country, despite all the damage that it has done. So if we are able to form lobby groups like that, we are present in the National Assembly, the states, and the houses of assemblies, and we are part of the process of making laws. Some of these things that we hear would never happen to us.
All right, thank you, Lakunle. I just had to cut in there because of time. Just want to run through the many messages on YouTube so we can wrap it up. AB on YouTube says, what did the National Assembly members expect when they were telling this cast of 48 plus deadwoods, aka ministers, to take a bow? Now they say it's an affront to the Nigerian people. Since when did this band of overpaid jokers consider themselves as part of the Nigerian people? Nemeka says, the 25% months of consequential adjustments that was promised to we doctors has never been paid. Meanwhile, they've already done over 100% adjustments for political office holders. All right, man, time has flown by. Wow, we need to wrap all this up. Thank you all so much for the messages and the contributions. Very much appreciated. And big thank you to you, Devoe, and to you, Lakunle. It's been a pleasure as always. Lakunle.
Thank you, Ayo, for having me. And let's start preparing for AFCON, as I said at the beginning. It seems that that's the only thing that we should look forward to from our Super Eagles now. Have a great week, everybody. See you next week.
All righty, Devoe.
Okay, hashtag a town hall is different. Hashtag block the road.
Devoe is not getting off this soapbox at all. All right, thank you all so much once again. Keep it tuned to the Smooth Breakfast here on Smooth 98.1. At 8:15, we will be talking about the Super Eagles and a whole lot more in the locker room. It's going to be an interesting one, believe me when I say that. Keep it tuned.